All right, well, I just found this study online from 1978, way back when. So you got 40 some odd years ago, this guy did this excellent study, and it seems to escape people's attention. And people still come out and say the Bible's not worthwhile because look at all the errors in the Hebrew Kings. They're supposed to be about the same. Well, if we look, Judah, 79 years, actual years, and Israel, 79 years. When you study, according to the accession-year system, postdating the year when a king began his reign, is termed his accession year, and his first official year begins with the next year. If you keep in mind, this is how they appointed and documented their kings, both kingdoms, at various times. We come up with exactly coordinated, corroborated evidence. So, getting back, a comparison of the lengths of reign of the rulers of Israel and Judah for the period immediately after the disruption, which is the Babylonian captivity, reveals the system each nation then was using. Jeroboam began in Israel in the same year that Rehoboam began in Judah, and Ahaziah died in Israel in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat of Judah, 2 Kings 3:1. When the 86 official years of Israel for this period are reduced to actual years for each king, official, how they counted it, versus actual years, they are exactly equal to 79 years of Judah. Thus the numbers of Judah and Israel, which throughout this period appear to contradict each other, are found to be harmonious. Amazing. Just follow how they did it. That you don't invent your own way. And the fact is revealed that at this time Judah employed accession-year reckoning, and Israel followed the non-accession-year method. The following are the numbers involved. And we can look at this, 1978 issues, over here. Here are the following numbers we just looked at. I just read this part. Okay. Go back to where we were. Careful study of the data reveals that Judah employed the accession-year system from Rehoboam to Jehoshaphat and then shifted to Israel's non-accession-year system when, in a period of rapprochement between Judah and Israel, Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, was married to Ahaziah, the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel, 2 Kings 8:18. This guy does all the work for you. Keep looking for something that's a valuable resource. Judah followed the non-accession year system for the reigns of Jehoram, Ahaziah, Athaliah, and Joash, and then shifted back to the accession year system with Amaziah and followed it with the end of its history. That this change was made at this time is shown by the two synachronisms for the accession of Ahaziah in the 11th year of Joram, according to the old accession year system, but in the 12th year of Joram, 2 Kings 8:25, according to the newly adopted non-accession year method. You have to keep track. This is why you do a proper study in the order that it was written, point for point, and then get some valuable resources like this so you can corroborate. Plenty of other studies like this decry the errors in the Bible because they don't do the details that you have to do as your own personal study of the Bible. In Israel, non-accession year reckoning was employed from Jeroboam to Jehoahaz, but under Joash, Israel adopted the accession year system simultaneously with Amaziah of Judah and used it to the end. Both Judah and Israel followed their own systems of reckoning for the lengths of reign of their own rulers and also for the synchronistic years of the rulers of the other nation. In Israel, the regnal year began with the month of Nisan in the spring, and in Judah it began with Tishri in the fall. Another chronological procedure that needs to be understood in this system, employed for the regnal data of Omri, who ruled half of the nation of Israel, while Tibni ruled the other half. 1 Kings 16:21-22. Keep taking notes. Omri was raised to the throne in the 27th year of Asa at his elimination of Zimri. 1 Kings 16:15-16. But the synchronism for his accession is the 31st year of Asa, and the length of his reign was 12 years. 1 Kings 16:23. Omri terminated his reign in the 38th year of Asa, when he was succeeded by Ahab, 1 Kings 16:29. So the datum for the length of Omri's reign includes both the years of his overlap with Tibni and those of his sole reign, but his synchronism denotes the year when his overlap with Tibni ended and his sole reign began. This system of recording I have termed dual dating. It gets complicated. You have to take out your sheet and start doing a little math. It is vital that this procedure be understood, for it is used not only for Omri, but also for Jeroboam the second, and Pekah in Israel, and for Jehoshaphat and Ahaziah in Judah. The greatest problems with the chronological data of the Hebrew kings have arisen from a failure to understand the employment of dual dating for the reigns involved. These data were recorded to set forth the details of the overlapping reigns to which they applied, and they fit those reigns with exactitude. When, however, the original historical situations are not understood and an attempt is made to apply these data to ordinary reigns of our own invention, they will not fit. Skeptics can do this quickly because they don't have to go into detail to support what the Bible actually says. And we find ourselves bewildered and ready to condemn as contradictory and erroneous data that are actually perfectly sound. Dual data dating for Ahaziah and Jeroboam the second, it will be seen, will solve the very serious problems of the 12 excess years for Israel and the 24 extra years for Judah for that century. Here I will set forth in diagrammatic form the arrangements of reigns for the 5 areas where the dual dating is involved. Let's see if I can. Dual dating is involved. Let's go back to the actual PDF record. Dual dating. Wow, I think I got it. Is involved. I can type right. All right, so you go back down here. There it is. So he's done a diagram for this. Remember this link here. I wish I could take this from PDF. I was trying to take this from PDF and look at the diagrams and post it on the internet, a site that I'm just reading from. But I think it's so old that there's no capacity within the PDF program to actually copy it. I'd have to actually type it in or write it in myself. In any case, for Omri, the dual dating pattern is shown on chart number 1. I guess we got chart number 1 up here. Chart 5, 4, oh, here we go, 3, 2, 1. Here's chart 1. Very good. So, chart 1. Omri, the dual dating pattern is shown in chart 1. There it is. Omri. Co-ruling or coordinate ruling kings. Zimri, Tibni, and Omri. And there's the coordinated. Okay, let's go back and read some more. That dual dating was not understood in the centuries preceding the Christian era is shown by the variant data in the Greek texts of Kings, which at 1 Kings 16:28 synchronized the accession of Jehoshaphat with the 11th year of Omri instead of the 4th year of Ahab, according to the Hebrew, and which at 1 Kings 16:29 placed the accession of Ahab in the 2nd year of Jehoshaphat instead of the 38th year of Asa, as in Hebrews. So chart number 2 shows the Greek pattern for this period in which Omri begins his 12 years in the 31st reign or year of Asa instead of his 27th year, as in the Hebrew pattern where the dual dating practiced as follows. Let's take a look at chart number 2. Here we go. We have all of this. This guy did a lot of work. Now, you don't have to understand and learn all of this. Just get the gist of it and keep looking at it as objectors come up and say, well, what about Hebrew kings? It's all messed up. So throughout the Bible, they say, oh, I'm glad you asked that. And you've got some resources here to show. And all of a sudden, you'll see the back of their heels walking away from you because you've done your homework and they haven't. And the more you look at this, the more confident you realize that this is accurate and corroborative. Otherwise, why would God let this, with all the other perfectly coordinated prophecies that perfectly fulfilled up to this point to the last detail, and then you say, well, what about Hebrew kings? Here you go. Just read the instructions when all else fails. So chart 2 shows the Greek pattern for this period in which Omri begins his 12 years in the 31st year of Asa instead of his 27th year. So it's Asa and Omri. Okay. Chart 2 shows the Greek pattern for this period. Now, this practice as follows. We have now from Jehoshaphat and Ahab to Ahaziah and Jehu. The pattern is as illustrated in chart number 3. Take a look at chart 3. Here it goes. Overlapping reigns. And then the first year sole reigns. This guy's done a lot of good deal. All right. Jehoshaphat began his 25 years, 1 Kings 22:42, and 872 as co-regent. Jehoshaphat, 872, co-regent with Asa. Jehoshaphat. Okay. Takes a little study here. So Jehoshaphat and Ahab to Ahaziah, Jehu. The pattern is as illustrated chart 3. Jehoshaphat began his 25 years as co-regent with Asa, who was seriously ill in his 39th year. The synchronism of his accession, however, is the 4th year of Ahab, which marks the end of his regency and the beginning of his sole reign in accord with the dual dating practice. Sole reign. Look for the sole reign there. There he is. First year of the sole reign. Jehoshaphat. His first year of the sole reign. There it is. He's got it mapped out. Things happen to kings. And accession years are different to the first full year of his reign. The 18th year of Jehoshaphat, when Joram began in Israel, is the 2nd year of Jehoram's regency with Jehoshaphat. While this co-regency is revealed by the Israelite synchronism in 2 Kings 1:17 of Jehoram's accession, the Judahite regnal data of Jehoram began his official 8 years of reign in the 5th year of Jehoram. Boy, it sounds complicated, but you have to just take one step at a time and verify it, and then you get used to the pattern. This pattern for the regnal data of 2 Kings 14 and 15 involving dual dating for Jeroboam II of Israel and Ahaziah of Judah is as shown on chart 4. Take a look at chart 4. So you can go there and do what I'm doing and just dig in. Ahaziah, darkened line there. Jeroboam, see the accession years. Accession 14, accession 15, 14, and so on. The pattern for the regnal data of 2 Kings 14:15 involving dual dating for Jeroboam of 2nd of Israel and Ahaziah of Judah is shown in chart 4. And then for Pekah in Israel, chart number 5 is the pattern of his dual dating. Hosea 5:5 points to 2 kingdoms in the north at this time besides Judah in the south. If dual dating for Pekah is not understood, and if his 20 years are begun in 740, 2 Kings 15:27 and 9 in 752, the pattern is as shown in chart number 6 as follows. And then 5 and 6. Okay, so we've got the details here. Somebody wants to dig in. Objectors are not going to hang around. In this pattern, Pekah is thrust 12 years beyond his true position, bringing the accession of Hoshea 12 years beyond the 20th year of Jotham,